to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Fourth and Long Fantasy Football Show. My name's Justin. Episode 63 today. Week 14 is come and gone, and we're on to Week 15. On today's episode, I'll give you a few of my Week 14 reactions, and then I'll get into my waiver wire targets and my starts of the week for Week 15. Now, as a reminder, I'm releasing these weekly shows on Thursday mornings, getting you prepared with my weekly recaps, waiver wire ads, and my starts of the week. Your time is valuable, so let's get to it.
On today's show...
All right, so for today's show, I want to start by giving you a couple quick reactions to Week 14. Before we get there, though, some leagues start their playoffs this week. If you made it in, congratulations and good luck. If you didn't, better luck next year. Fantasy football is a love-hate sort of hobby, right? It can be incredibly fun, addicting, exciting, and then also depressing and maddening, right? Who doesn't love a good Monday Night Miracle? Who hates when their opponent's wide receiver catches a garbage time 10-yard catch with 30 seconds left on the clock to beat you? It's a game we love to hate sometimes, and the ups and downs of fantasy football are what I personally love about it. All right, so to get things started for this week, I want to talk about DK Metcalf. What's going on with DK Metcalf? DK came out, was performing as expected the first half of the season, and up until the Seahawks bye, he was a top 10 fantasy wideout. But after the bye, he's been a shell of his former self. He really has. The concern here is that it's not really volume related. DK Metcalf has seen 8 targets in 4 of the last 5 games since the Hawks bye. The issue has been the lack of touchdowns. The regression has hit in the touchdown department for Metcalf. And you have to ask yourself, right, can you sit DK Metcalf? Can you feel good about sitting DK Metcalf? And the answer is sure, right? I think in some situations, if you're in a PPR league and you want to start a guy like Hunter Renfrow, who's red hot recently, you go for it, right? But just realize that DK Metcalf could go for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns at any moment. I've always been a start your studs kind of guy, and DK is a stud even if he's in the biggest slump of his career. Next, I want to talk about the running back landscape here for 2021 and some of the surprises we've seen. If you look across the league this year, you'll see some interesting names atop the running back fantasy rankings list. Names that I did not think would play as big of a factor as they have. James Conner, Leonard Fournette, Cordell Patterson, to name a few, are all top 10 in running back fantasy scoring this season. Didn't see that coming. The running back environment, the landscape here this season has been interesting, right? A lot of the top running backs this season have either dealt with injuries or underperformances. Christian McCaffrey, Derrick Henry, Alvin Kamara, Saquon Barkley, to name a few. All have struggled this season or have had the majority of their season lost to injury. It's been weird, right? If you waited on running back this draft season and ended up with running backs like Damian Harris, Darrell Henderson, any of the 3 I mentioned earlier, you're probably pretty happy, right? Fantasy football goes through these ups and downs. One year you're going to have running backs that are down. The next year quarterbacks are down. The next wide receivers are down. I guess just don't let it totally influence your opinion of the running back position as we head into next season. And then finally, some Dynasty keeper league advice as we head into the end of the season here. It's no days off for those players in Dynasty or keeper leagues, right? If you're out of the playoff hunt, now's the time to start looking to next season. Are there players out there on your waiver wire that you could scoop up to hold? Maybe a guy like Gus Edwards was dropped. Maybe Marlon Mack, a free agent after the season, is out there floating around. Scour the wire and start planning ahead. All right, let me get into my waiver wire ads for this week for Week 15. Before I get there, though, my ads for last week included Russell Gage, JaMychal Hasty, and Kendrick Bourne. I'm going to get my Week 15 waiver wire list started with a running back, and it's going to be Seattle Seahawks running back Rashaad Penny. As an individual who happened to go up against Rashaad Penny last week, I was not happy seeing him go off and post one of the best scores of the week at the running back position. But regardless of my feelings, he's a must-add as we head into the fantasy playoffs. Pete Carroll has come out and said they'll continue to give Penny the opportunity to be the guy in the Seattle Seahawks backfield. He's going to be a volume-based running back too this week. Go ahead and grab him. Next, I'm going to go with a wide receiver, and it's going to be Minnesota Vikings wide receiver KJ Osborn. Osborn took advantage of his expanded opportunity in Week 14 as Adam Thielen was out. He saw 9 targets and scored a long touchdown that really salvaged his fantasy day. And the expectation is that Thielen should be out again this week, which means Osborn will be in for another busy day as the second option for Kirk Cousins. And then finally, my last waiver wire ad for this week is going to be another wide receiver, and it's going to be Detroit Lions wide receiver Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm really happy that one of my preseason sleepers is breaking out here. Amon-Ra St. Brown has seen 24 targets the last 2 weeks and has become a reliable wide receiver too in PPR formats. He's the volume guy in this Detroit Lions offense and should continue to eat in Week 15. The Lions get the Cardinals this week, which means there should be another healthy dose of pass attempts headed for Amon-Ra St. Brown. All right, let me get into my starts of the week. Last week, I had quarterback Taysom Hill, running back Javonte Williams, and wide receiver Stephon Diggs. I'm going to get my Week 15 starts of the week list started with a quarterback, and it's going to be Arizona Cardinals quarterback Kyler Murray. The Cardinals get a get-right matchup against the Detroit Lions this week. Murray, who struggled to get things going on Monday night against the Rams, should get back on track and have one of his signature elite games this week. If you're starting him week 1 of your fantasy playoffs, you're going to be pretty happy with the result. I'm starting him with confidence this week. Next, I'm going to go with a running back, and it's going to be Washington football team's running back Antonio Gibson. Gibson was on a roll before week 14, but he saw only 10 rushing attempts and lost a fumble this past week. It was a tough week. It really was to stomach as a Gibson owner. This week, though, Gibson gets a very favorable matchup against a susceptible Eagles defense. Gibson should get back on track to his old ways and should see 20-plus touches, and he could find the end zone in week 15. Don't lose faith in Antonio Gibson, guys. Finally, my last start of the week is going to be a wide receiver, and I'm going to go with Houston Texans wide receiver Brandin Cooks. Cooks has been solid this season, right? Not spectacular, but solid. And week 14 saw him eclipse a century mark in receiving. I expect another big game from him this week. Going up against the lowly Jaguars defense, I expect a big game from this speedster wide receiver. So that'll do it. Please remember to comment and like on this video on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and find us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. This has been the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Good luck this week, everybody. See you next week.
Royalty-free music courtesy of Ben Sound. The views and opinions expressed on today's episode are that of the 4th and Long Fantasy Football Show. Remember to like and subscribe.